Hey guys, my name is KK and I'm a part of the Reservoir Kreatif group. So in our last musical workshop, we talked about songwriting. If you haven't watched that, make sure to go check it out. And today, I will be teaching you about arranging. So what exactly is arranging, you might ask? Well, arranging is basically taking your melody and making a song out of it. It will get clearer as I go through this workshop. So today I will be going through the most basic level of arranging, and I will assure you that by the end of this video you will be able to get a rough idea of on how to arrange a song. So let's get right into it. So in a common arrangement for a song, you have a few instruments that you use, right? So the most commonly used instruments in an arrangement would be the piano or the guitar, right? So these two instruments are usually used for chords, or sometimes like playing counter melodies with the main melody. But in today's workshop, we will only be focusing on the chords, right? So then you also have the bass, and then you also have the drums, right? So let me show you a quick example of how you can arrange a song. So what we have right here is an excerpt of a melody with some chords behind it. So let's have a listen.
Took a step outside today. The skies are blue, everything's okay in this neighborhood. Wish I could call it home, but home is not home without you. Alright, so let's pause right there for a bit. So what we had right there is 8 bars worth of a verse, right? So then now we will be entering the pre-chorus. All right, so let's have a listen. You. Again. Wait. All right, so here, after the 8 bars of a pre-chorus, we now enter the main chorus for the song. So here we go. We'd hang out in the park, you would pick me up and you'd take me out, rides in your car, on this road that won't lead me to you. You lead me back to you. Alright, so that is the end of the excerpt. So, pretty straightforward. What we have right here is 8 bars worth of a verse, 8 bars worth of a pre-chorus, and 8 bars worth of a chorus. So now this melody is in the key of G, and the chord progression that was used in this excerpt was chord 1, chord 3 minor, chord 4, and chord 5, right? So because it is in the key of G, so chord 1 would be G major, chord 3 would be B minor, chord 4 would be C major, and then chord 5 would be D, right? So because we don't have an intro for this excerpt, let me try to make something out of it. Let me try to make an intro out of this this melody. So here, I'm going to use the piano as the main chords for this song, right? So the chords that we used, it's basically a loop throughout the entire excerpt. So the chords that we used were chord 1 major, and then we have chord 3 minor, and then chord 4, and then you have chord 5, or chord 5, 7. But I don't really like the chord 5, 7, so I'm gonna use the chord 5. It sounds more bright and more open, right? So for the intro, I want something a bit light and soft, so I'm just gonna have the pianos playing on it, and the other instruments are only gonna come in the later part of the song. So let me try recording something. So
took a step.
Right, so the chords that I used for the intro is basically the chords that is played throughout the entire excerpt of the melody, right? I'm gonna use the same chords. So here we have chord 1, chord 3 minor, we have chord 4, and then we have chord 5 here, right? Okay, so now moving forward, we go to the verse, right? So same thing, the same chords, and so instead of holding down the chords, right, I'm gonna try something, right? So it's a very simple comping method, right? So it goes something like this. Right, so let's give it a shot.
Took a step outside today. The skies are blue, everything's okay in this neighborhood. Wish I could call it home, but home is not home without you.
So the notes that were used for this comping is all part of the chords, right? So you have G major 7 actually, not it's still chord 1, but it's a variation of chord 1. So we have the G major 7, which is, right? So we have, right, and then we move on to B minor. So it's basically just using the notes from the chords and then just adding some patterns into it, right? So you can give it a shot. Now let's try adding some bass to it. So why we want to add bass to it is basically because we want it to sound a bit more steady. Now it's a bit like, it feels like it's hanging a bit. So let's try adding some bass to it. So, right. So the notes that you can actually use for the bass is note 5 and note 1, sorry. The notes that you can use for the bass would normally be note 1 and 5, right? So in this case, we are in chord 1. So chord G would be, right, G, B, and D. So you can play around with notes 1 and 5, right? So let me give it a shot.
Took a step outside today. The skies are blue, everything's okay in this neighborhood. Wish I could call it home, but home is not home without you.
Right, so here I have like a simple like bass line. So I'm just using notes 1 and 5. So now let's add some drums to it. Right, so what we can do, the most common drum pattern that I see in most songs is what you have would be the hi-hats, and then you have the kick, and then you have the snare. Right, so let's give it a shot.
Took a step outside today. The skies are blue, everything's okay in this neighborhood. Wish I could call it home, but home is not home without you.
Right, so then we move on to the chorus, right? So what we could do is we could use the same comping pattern as the verse, but let's try something different, right? So that we have like a better contrast between two sections. Okay, so what I'm gonna try actually is I'm still gonna use the notes from the chords, but I'm basically just separating them. I'm playing in a way that it's just single notes. So let me show you.
Home is not home without you. We'd hang out in.
Right. So we add, like, it sounds a bit more like moving, or it sounds like it's progressing a bit more, which is exactly what we want in a pre-chorus, because that actually leads up to the main chorus, right? So now let's add in the bass, right? So I think for the bass we don't really need something too different. We can use something like it shouldn't go too far off from the verse. So let me try something.
Home is not home without you. We'd hang out in.
Right. So now let's move on to the drums. So it can the groove basically it should be the same, right? So let's try.
Home is not home without you. We'd hang out in.
Right. So now we have the piano, the bass, and the drums laid out for the whole pre-chorus. So let's have a listen.
We'd hang out.
Okay, so now we move into the chorus, right? So in the chorus, you would actually want it to sound the most grand. So how you can actually do that is by playing it a bit more openly. So by openly, I mean like have a wider range in your chords. So you see how previously it's just, right? So it's in one section. So now we spread it a bit across the keyboard, and then we play, right? So it sounds more grand. So let's try it.
We'd hang out in the park. You would pick me up and you'd take me out, rides in your car on this road that won't lead me to you. Lead me back to you.
Okay, so what I did was I played it a bit louder than before so that it sounds a bit more grand, and I used like a larger octave. So it definitely sounds more grand to me. And then because at the end of the chorus, it's like it's going down, it's becoming more softer. So then my approach towards that is I played it softer, and I played a little bit less, and then I ended it with a very soft note. All right, so now we move on to the bass. Again, I'm not going to change too much because the groove is pretty much the same. So I'll just get on with it.
We'd hang out in the park. You would pick me up and you'd take me out, rides in your car on this road that won't lead me to you. Lead me back to you.
Okay, then now we have the drums, right? So let's record the drums.
We'd hang out in the park. You would pick me up and you'd take me out, rides in your car on this road that won't lead me to you. back to you.
So same thing, because the ending of the chorus, it's going down, it's becoming a bit softer. So I played a little lesser when I entered, like when I went to the near the end of the chorus, so it gets a bit softer. So let's have a listen.
Out in the park, you would pick me up and you take me out, rides in your car on this road that won't lead me to you. Lead
And then you
me
die down here.
back to you.
Yep.
That concludes our workshop for today. So thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. And feel free to try it out. Take a melody, arrange it, and tag us on Instagram with our hashtag creative arrangement. So and make sure to follow us on Instagram. I hope you had fun, and take care and stay safe. Bye.